She texted Mafia boss by mistake. Minutes later, found herself forced into marriage. Before we dive into this absolutely shocking story, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, and drop a comment telling us which state you're watching from. We love hearing from our incredible viewers. Now let's uncover how one simple text message changed everything and led to the most dangerous love story you've ever heard. Maya Rodriguez stared at her phone screen in her cramped Chicago apartment, frustrated tears threatening to spill over. At 25, she was barely making ends meet as a part-time graphic designer, while caring for her sick grandmother. The medical bills were piling up faster than she could pay them, and tonight she had reached her breaking point. Her fingers trembled as she typed what she thought was her best friend Lisa's number. She needed someone to talk to, someone who would understand how desperate she had become. The number looked right. She was sure she had saved it correctly after Lisa got her new phone last week. "Lisa, I don't know what to do anymore," she typed, her vision blurred by exhaustion and stress. "Grandma's treatment costs keep rising and I'm behind on rent again. I'm thinking about taking that loan from Tony's friend. You know, the one with the high interest rate. I know it's dangerous, but I'm out of options. Please call me back. Really need advice." She hit send without double-checking the number, then collapsed onto her second-hand couch. The apartment was quiet, except for the distant sound of her grandmother's oxygen machine humming from the bedroom. Maya closed her eyes, hoping Lisa would call back soon with some kind of solution. Any kind of hope? Her phone buzzed 30 seconds later. Wrong number. Maya's heart sank. Great. Even her attempt to reach out for help had failed. She was about to type an apology when another message appeared. "But I'm interested in your financial situation. What kind of loan are you looking for?" Something about the response made her pause. The tone was different, businesslike, almost predatory. This wasn't some random person who had received her message by mistake. This sounded like someone who dealt with desperate people regularly. "I'm sorry. I thought I was texting my friend," she typed back quickly. "Please ignore my previous message." The response came immediately. Too late for that, Maya Rodriguez. Her blood ran cold. How did this stranger know her name? She hadn't mentioned it in her text. Panic began to set in as she realized she might have stumbled into something much more dangerous than a simple wrong number. "Who is this?" She typed with shaking fingers. "Someone who can solve your problems, or make them much worse. Apartment 3B on Elm Street, right? Your grandmother Elena is on the kidney transplant list at Chicago General?" Maya's phone slipped from her hands, clattering to the floor. This person knew where she lived. They knew about her grandmother's condition. This wasn't just a wrong number. This was a nightmare unfolding in real time. She scrambled to pick up the phone, her hands shaking so violently she could barely grip it. Another message was waiting. "Don't even think about calling the police. You reached out to me, remember? No, you have my attention. That's not something people usually survive." Maya's apartment suddenly felt smaller, more vulnerable. She rushed to the window and peered through the blinds at the street below. Was someone watching her? How did they know so much about her life? Her phone buzzed again. "You have 10 minutes to walk to the coffee shop on 5th and Madison. Come alone. Bring your grandmother's medical files. Don't disappoint me, Maya. I don't offer second chances." She stared at the message, her heart pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. This couldn't be happening. A simple text to the wrong number couldn't have put her and her grandmother in danger. But the alternative, ignoring these threats, seemed even more terrifying. Maya looked toward her grandmother's bedroom. Elena was sleeping peacefully, unaware that her granddaughter had just made contact with someone who sounded like they could destroy their lives with a phone call. With trembling hands, Maya gathered her grandmother's medical files from the kitchen drawer, where she kept all the important documents. She had no choice. Whatever she had stumbled into, she had to face it head-on. Her grandmother's life might depend on it. As she grabbed her jacket and headed for the door, one more message appeared. "Smart girl. See you soon." Maya stepped out into the Chicago night, completely unaware that she was about to meet the most dangerous man in the city. The coffee shop on 5th and Madison was nearly empty at 10 p.m. Just a few late-night students hunched over laptops, and a barista who looked like she wanted to go home. Maya clutched her grandmother's medical files against her chest, scanning the room for anyone who looked threatening. Everyone seemed normal, ordinary. Maybe this was all some sick joke. She chose a table near the back exit, her escape route planned. Her phone showed exactly 10 minutes had passed since the last message. Maya kept checking the door, expecting someone obvious. Scarred face, expensive suit. The kind of person who screamed danger. Instead, a man who looked like he belonged in a corporate boardroom approached her table. Tall, impeccably dressed in a charcoal gray suit that probably cost more than Maya made in 3 months. Dark hair, perfectly styled, sharp jawline, and eyes that seemed to see everything. He was devastatingly handsome and absolutely terrifying. "Maya Rodriguez," he said, sliding into the seat across from her. His voice was smooth, cultured, with just a hint of an accent she couldn't place. "You look younger than I expected." "Are you?" she started, her voice cracking. "Alessandro Moretti," he said, extending his hand as if they were meeting for a business lunch. "But you can call me Alex, we're going to be working together." Maya didn't take his hand. The name Moretti sent ice through her veins. Everyone in Chicago knew that name, whispered it in fear. The Moretti family controlled half the city's underground operations. They were the kind of people you crossed the street to avoid. "I made a mistake," she whispered. "I was trying to text my friend. I didn't mean to contact you." Alessandro leaned back in his chair, studying her with those piercing dark eyes. "But you did contact me. And in my line of work, Maya, there are no accidents. Only opportunities." He gestured toward the medical files in her arms. "Your grandmother needs a kidney transplant. The waiting list is 18 months. The private option costs $300,000. Money you don't have." Maya's throat felt like sandpaper. "How do you know all this?" "I know everything about everyone who contacts me," Alessandro said calmly. "Elena Rodriguez, 73 years old, diabetes complications, currently on dialysis 3 times a week. You're her only family. No parents, no siblings, no safety net. You work part-time jobs that barely cover rent, let alone medical expenses." Tears started flowing down Maya's face. Having her desperate situation laid out so clinically was almost as terrifying as the man speaking. "Here's what's going to happen," Alessandro continued, his voice never changing tone. "You're going to help me with a problem I have, and I'm going to solve yours. Your grandmother will have her kidney transplant within the month. Best surgeons, private hospital, full recovery guaranteed." "What kind of help?" Maya managed to ask. Alessandro's smile was predatory. "I need a wife." Maya stared at him, certain she had misunderstood. "Excuse me?" "Marriage. You and me. It's a business arrangement, nothing more. There are legal complications in my life that require a spouse. Immigration issues, property transfers, things you don't need to understand. You'll play the role for 6 months, maybe a year. In exchange, your grandmother lives." Maya's mind reeled. This had to be a nightmare. People didn't get forced into marriage by strangers in coffee shops. This was America, not some medieval kingdom. "And if I say no?" she whispered. Alessandro's expression didn't change, but something cold flickered in his eyes. "Then you walk out of here, go back to your apartment and wait for your grandmother to die. Because Maya, you reached out to me tonight. You entered my world. People don't just leave my world alive." The threat hung in the air between them. Maya looked around the coffee shop at the normal people living normal lives, completely unaware that her entire existence was being decided at this corner table. "I don't understand," she said desperately. "Why me? You could marry anyone. Someone from your world." "Because you're nobody," Alessandro said bluntly. "No family connections, no criminal background, no complications. Just a desperate girl who needs something I can provide." "It's perfect." Maya's hands shook as she processed his words. She was nobody. He was right. She was completely expendable, utterly powerless. "Your grandmother has maybe 3 months without that transplant," Alessandro added, checking his expensive watch. "I can have her in surgery next week. All you have to do is say yes." Maya looked at the medical files in her lap, thinking of Elena sleeping peacefully at home, unaware that her life hung in the balance of this impossible decision. Maya stared at Alessandro Moretti, searching his face for any sign that this was some elaborate, cruel joke. His expression remained perfectly calm, as if he had just offered to buy her coffee, instead of proposing marriage under threat of death. "You're insane," she whispered. "This is insane." I can't marry a complete stranger, especially not someone like you. Someone like me. Alessandro raised an eyebrow, genuinely curious about her perception. A criminal, Maya said, finding a spark of defiance despite her terror. A mafia boss. Someone who threatens innocent people in coffee shops. Alessandro laughed, a rich, unexpected sound that made several other customers look over. Innocent? Maya, you texted me asking about illegal loans. You were ready to borrow money from dangerous people at rates that would destroy your life. How innocent does that make you? The truth of his words stung. She had been desperate enough to consider Tony's friend's offer, knowing full well it came from people who broke legs when payments were missed. That's different, she protested weakly. Is it? You were already choosing to enter a world of violence and debt. I'm simply offering you a better option. Alessandro leaned forward slightly. Let me be very clear about what I'm proposing. You marry me in a civil ceremony. You move into my home, take my name, play the role of devoted wife when needed. In return, your grandmother gets her surgery, her recovery care, and you both get protection. Protection from what? From the consequences of the choice you were about to make, Alessandro said darkly. Tony's friend? His name is Marcus Volkov, Russian mob. Interest rates start at 30% monthly. Miss one payment and they start with fingers. Miss two and they move to family members. Maya felt sick. She had been so desperate she hadn't researched the loan properly. She had almost walked into a trap that would have destroyed both her and Elena. You would have been dead within 6 months, Alessandro continued matter-of-factly. So really I'm saving your life twice? Once from Volkov, and once by providing the money for Elena's surgery. Maya's mind raced. Everything he said made horrible sense. She had been drowning, and this dangerous stranger was offering her a life preserver, with strings attached that could drag her underwater in different ways. What happens after the marriage? She asked quietly. When you don't need me anymore? Divorce. Clean, simple, generous settlement. You and Elena disappear, start fresh somewhere safe. New identities if necessary. Maya looked around the coffee shop again, at people living normal lives with normal problems. Had any of them ever faced a choice like this? Marry a stranger or watch their loved one die? Why should I trust you? She asked. How do I know you won't just kill me after you get what you need? Alessandro's expression grew serious. Because Maya, I give you my word. And despite what you think you know about me, my word means everything. It's the only currency that matters in my world. He pulled out his phone and showed her a screen. It was a medical record, Elena's medical record. Your grandmother's surgery is already scheduled for Monday morning. Dr. Sarah Chen, the best transplant surgeon on the West Coast. The kidney is a perfect match coming from a donor in Seattle. All of this happens regardless of your answer because I made a promise. Maya's eyes filled with tears. You already arranged everything? The moment I received your text, I made calls. Your grandmother's life was never in question, Maya. Only yours. The weight of his words hit her. He had saved Elena before they even met. This wasn't just about forcing her into marriage. He had acted on pure instinct to help someone in need. I don't understand you, she said, confusion replacing some of her fear. You don't need to understand me. You just need to trust me for the next few months. Maya looked at Elena's medical files, thinking about 3 months of watching her grandmother slowly fade away, about the crushing debt that would come even if Elena survived, about Marcus Volkov and his 30% interest rates. Then she looked at Alessandro Moretti, this impossibly dangerous and apparently honorable man who had turned her world upside down with his strange offer of salvation. If I say yes, she said slowly, what happens next? Alessandro's smile was different now, less predatory, almost relieved. Next we go shopping for a wedding dress. The ceremony is tomorrow afternoon. Maya's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Your grandmother's surgery has been moved to Sunday morning. Dr. Chen wanted to operate sooner. Everything is arranged. She stared at the message, realizing that her choice had been made the moment she sent that first text to the wrong number. Alessandro Moretti had already saved Elena's life. Now she had to decide if she was brave enough to save her own. Maya stood in front of the mirror in an expensive bridal boutique, wearing a dress that cost more than she made in 6 months. The ivory silk clung to her figure perfectly, as if it had been designed specifically for her, which she was beginning to realize it probably had been. Alessandro Moretti was the kind of man who planned everything down to the smallest detail. "You look beautiful." "Dear," said Mrs. Patterson, the elderly boutique owner who had opened her shop specifically for this emergency appointment. "Your fiancé has excellent taste." Maya almost laughed at the absurdity of it all. Yesterday morning she had been a struggling graphic designer, facing impossible choices. Now she was trying on wedding dresses to marry a man she had met less than 24 hours ago. A man who controlled half of Chicago's underworld. The previous evening had passed in a blur of legal documents, medical consultations, and phone calls in Italian that she couldn't understand but knew were important. Alessandro had moved with military precision, arranging everything from marriage licenses to security details to Elena's surgery schedule. True to his word, Elena was already in pre-operative care at Chicago's most exclusive private hospital. Maya had visited that morning, lying smoothly about a sudden inheritance that would cover all medical expenses. Her grandmother had been too relieved and medicated to ask difficult questions. "The car is here." Alessandro's voice came from outside the dressing room. Even through the door, his presence commanded attention. Maya took one last look at herself in the mirror. The woman staring back looked like someone else entirely. Elegant, sophisticated, expensive. Nothing like the desperate girl who had sent a text to the wrong number. She emerged from the dressing room to find Alessandro waiting in an impeccably tailored black tuxedo. He looked like he had stepped out of a magazine, all sharp lines and dangerous elegance. For just a moment, seeing him standing there, Maya could almost pretend this was a real wedding. "Perfect," he said, his dark eyes appraising her appearance with professional detachment. "The photographer will love these shots, right? The photographer. Because this whole charade needed to look legitimate for whatever legal purposes required a wife." Maya was a prop in Alessandro's elaborate production, nothing more. The drive to the courthouse was silent. Maya watched Chicago pass by through bulletproof windows, noting the two black SUVs that followed them at a discreet distance. Security. Because apparently marrying a Moretti required protection from people who might object to the union. The ceremony itself was surreal. A judge who clearly knew Alessandro personally performed the service with unusual speed and discretion. The witness were two men in expensive suits who looked like they could kill someone with their bare hands while discussing the weather. "Do you, Maya Rodriguez, take Alessandro Moretti to be your lawfully wedded husband?" the judge asked. Maya looked into Alessandro's eyes, searching for any hint of emotion, any sign that this meant something beyond business to him. She found nothing but patient waiting. "I do," she whispered. "Do you, Alessandro Moretti, take Maya Rodriguez to be your lawfully wedded wife?" "I do," he said, his voice firm and clear. The rings were platinum bands that had appeared from nowhere, perfectly sized, obviously expensive. Alessandro slipped hers on with steady hands, and Maya was surprised by the warmth of his touch. "You may kiss the bride," the judge announced. This was the moment Maya had been dreading. Their first kiss would be witnessed by strangers, performed for legal necessity rather than love. Alessandro stepped closer, his hands gently cupping her face. "Trust me," he whispered, so quietly only she could hear. The kiss was soft, respectful, nothing like what she had expected from a man of his reputation. For just a moment, Maya forgot where they were, why they were there, what this really was. For just a moment, it felt real. When they separated, Alessandro's expression was unreadable again. "Mrs. Moretti," he said formally, "Mrs. Moretti." Maya Rodriguez was gone, replaced by someone she didn't recognize. The photographer captured everything. The ceremony, the kiss, candid shots of the happy couple leaving the courthouse, evidence for whatever legal proceedings required proof of marriage. "Where do we go now?" Maya asked as they walked toward the waiting car. "Home," Alessandro said. "Your new home." The word sent a chill through her. Home implied permanence, belonging, safety, none of which applied to her current situation. As their car pulled away from the courthouse, Maya caught a glimpse of a black sedan following them. Not their security, something else. Alessandro noticed it too, his jaw tightening slightly. "Friends of yours?" Maya asked, trying to keep her voice light. Alessandro's hand moved to his jacket, where she was certain he kept a weapon. Not friends. But don't worry, Mrs. Moretti. You're under my protection now. Maya realized that marrying Alessandro hadn't just changed her name and address. It had painted a target on her back, making her a player in games she didn't understand, with stakes she was only beginning to comprehend. The Moretti estate sat behind high walls and electronic gates in an exclusive Chicago suburb, looking more like a fortress than a home. Maya pressed her face to the car window as they drove up the circular driveway, taking in manicured gardens, security cameras, and men in suits stationed at strategic points around the property. "This is where you live?" she asked, overwhelmed by the sheer scale of wealth on display. "Where we live," Alessandro corrected. "You're Mrs. Moretti now. This is your home, too." The house itself was a masterpiece of modern architecture. Glass, steel, and stone creating clean lines and elegant spaces. Inside, Maya found herself in a world of marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and artwork that belonged in museums. Everything was perfect, expensive, and somehow cold. "Maria will show you to your room," Alessandro said, nodding toward a woman in her 50s who appeared as if summoned. "You'll find everything you need has been provided. My room." Maya had assumed they would share a bedroom, part of maintaining their cover as a married couple. "The master suite has 2 bedrooms connected by a shared sitting area," Alessandro explained. "Privacy for both of us, but appearances are maintained for staff and visitors." Relief and disappointment warred in Maya's chest. She was grateful not to have to share a bed with this dangerous stranger, but part of her wondered what it meant that he wanted. To keep her at arm's length, Maria led her through hallways, lined with family portraits, generations of Moretti, men with the same dark eyes and commanding presence. At the end of a long corridor, Maria opened a door to reveal a bedroom that took Maya's breath away. The room was enormous, decorated in soft blues and creams, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the gardens. A king-sized bed sat under a canopy of silk, and French doors led to a private balcony. The walk-in closet was already filled with clothes in her exact size. Designer dresses, casual wear, shoes, jewelry, everything a Mafia Don's wife might need. "How did he know my sizes?" Maya asked Maria, running her fingers over a cashmere sweater that probably cost more than her monthly rent. "Mr. Moretti is very thorough," Maria replied with a knowing smile. "He leaves nothing to chance." A connecting door led to a shared sitting room with comfortable chairs, a fireplace, and built-in bookshelves. Beyond that, she could see Alessandro's bedroom, larger than hers, decorated in dark woods and leather, unmistakably masculine. "There are some rules," Alessandro said, appearing in the connecting doorway. He had changed from his tuxedo into dark jeans and a black sweater, looking less formal but no less dangerous. "For your safety and mine." Maya turned to face him, noting how he seemed to fill the entire doorway with his presence. "You don't leave the property without security. Ever. You don't discuss my business with anyone. You don't answer questions about our relationship beyond the basics. We met, fell in love, married quickly. Simple story. And what happens when people ask how we met?" Maya challenged. "Through mutual friends. Keep it vague." Alessandro moved into the sitting room, settling into one of the leather chairs. "There will be social events. Dinners, charity functions, business meetings where you'll need to play the devoted wife. Can you handle that?" Maya sank into the chair across from him, still wearing her wedding dress, feeling like she was playing dress-up in someone else's life. "I don't know how to be a Mafia wife." "You don't need to be a Mafia wife. You need to be Alessandro Moretti's wife. There's a difference." "Is there?" Alessandro studied her for a long moment. "Maya, what do you think I do for a living?" The question surprised her. You run the Moretti family. Crime stuff. I don't really know the details. I run legitimate businesses. Restaurants, construction companies, real estate development. Everything legal, everything proper." His voice was matter-of-fact. "The family's criminal activities ended with my father's generation." Maya stared at him. "But everyone says what they've always said about the Moretti name. Old reputation dies hard, especially when it's useful for business negotiations." Alessandro's smile was wry. "People assume the worst so they don't test me. It's quite effective. So you're not actually a criminal? No, dangerous? Absolutely. I didn't survive the transition from my father's world to mine by being soft. Maya's understanding of her situation shifted dramatically. If Alessandro was legitimate, if the criminal reputation was just useful legend, then maybe this arrangement wasn't as terrifying as she had thought. Then why do you need a wife? She asked. What legal complications require marriage? Alessandro's expression darkened. My father had enemies. Old grudges don't die easily. There are people who want to believe the Moretti family is still what it used to be, and they're not happy with my reforms. Marriage provides certain legal protections, property arrangements that make it harder for them to move against me. A sound from outside made them both turn toward the window. Car doors slamming, voices in Italian, footsteps on the gravel driveway. Alessandro was on his feet instantly, his entire posture changing from relaxed to lethal in seconds. Stay here, he commanded, moving toward his bedroom where Maya was certain he kept weapons. Alessandro, what's happening? He paused at his bedroom door, looking back at her. Welcome to the family business, Mrs. Moretti. The voices outside grew louder, more agitated. Maya could hear Alessandro speaking rapid Italian through the walls, his tone commanding and cold. She pressed against the window, trying to see what was happening in the darkness below. When Maria appeared beside her, Mrs. Moretti, you should come away from the window, the older woman said gently but firmly. What's going on? Who are those people? Maria's expression was grim. Old business. The kind Mr. Alessandro has been trying to end for years. 20 minutes later, the voices faded and car engines started. Maya heard the front door close, followed by Alessandro's footsteps on the marble stairs. When he appeared in the sitting room, his face was darker than she had ever seen it. We need to talk, he said, pouring himself a glass of whiskey from a crystal decanter. Those were representatives from the Volkov family. Maya's blood chilled. The same Volkov whose friend I almost borrowed money from? The same. Apparently, Marcus Volkov is very unhappy that his potential client suddenly disappeared. Even more unhappy that she married into the Moretti family. Alessandro took a long drink. They think I interfered with their business deliberately. Did you? Alessandro looked at her steadily. Yes, the simple admission hung in the air between them. Maya sank into her chair, processing the implications. You knew. When I sent that text, you knew exactly who I was talking about. I've been tracking Volkov's loan operations for months. They target desperate people, destroy families, feed on misery. When your text came in, I recognized the name Tony immediately. He's one of Volkov's recruiters. Maya felt like pieces of a puzzle were falling into place. So this wasn't random. You didn't choose me because I was nobody. You chose me because helping me would hurt them. I chose you because you needed help, and I could provide it, Alessandro said firmly. But yes, removing you from Volkov's reach was satisfying. And now they want revenge? Alessandro set down his glass and moved to kneel in front of Maya's chair, taking her hands in his. The gesture was surprisingly gentle from a man who had just faced down Russian mobsters. Maya, I need you to understand something. When I married you today, I didn't just give you my name and my protection. I made you a target. The Volkovs see you as a way to get to me. Fear crept up Maya's spine. What does that mean? It means this arrangement just became much more dangerous than either of us planned. I can divorce you tonight, give you new identity documents, relocate you and Elena somewhere safe. Or? Alessandro's dark eyes held hers. Or you stay and we make this marriage real. Not just legal, but actual. Full partnership, complete protection, permanent commitment. Maya's heart pounded. You're asking me to really marry you? Not just pretend? I'm asking you to let me keep you safe the only way I know how. As my true wife, you become untouchable. The Volkovs won't dare move against you directly. And what do you get out of it? Alessandro's smile was soft, genuine. Nothing like the cold businessman she had met yesterday. I get someone who married me when she thought I was a monster. Someone who chose to trust me even when she was terrified. Someone who texted a wrong number asking for help and accidentally found exactly what she needed. Maya studied his face, seeing past the dangerous reputation to the man underneath. You're not what I expected, neither are you. When I got your text, I expected to find another victim for Volkov to destroy. Instead, I found someone brave enough to do anything to save the person they love. Someone worth protecting. Alessandro. My real name is Alexander, he said softly. Alessandro is what my father called me, what the family business required. But Alexander is who I am when I'm not being the head of the Moretti Empire. The distinction mattered more than Maya could express. Alessandro was the dangerous stranger who had forced her into marriage. Alexander was the man who had arranged her grandmother's surgery before they even met. If I stay, Maya said slowly, if I choose to make this real, what happens to us? Alexander's hands tightened on hers. We learn to be married. We protect each other. We build something real from this impossible beginning. Maya thought about her grandmother, safely recovering from surgery in a private hospital. She thought about the beautiful room upstairs, the closet full of clothes, the life of luxury and protection being offered. But mostly she thought about the man kneeling in front of her, who had turned her desperate text message into salvation. The Volkovs, she said, they'll keep coming, not if you're really my wife. Not if they know that touching you means declaring war on the Moretti family. Alexander's voice held steel beneath the gentleness. I may not be the criminal my father was, but I am still his son. Some reputations are useful to maintain. Maya made her decision. I need to call Elena. Tell her about the marriage properly. Alexander's smile was brilliant. She'll love the story. Her granddaughter married a successful businessman in a whirlwind romance. And that's what it'll become, won't it? A real romance? Alexander stood, pulling Maya to her feet and into his arms. Maya Moretti, I fell in love with your courage before I ever met you. Everything else is just catching up. When he kissed her this time, it wasn't for show or legal necessity. It was real, passionate, full of promise for a future neither of them had planned, but both were brave enough to choose. Thank you for joining us for this incredible tale of wrong numbers and right choices. If this story of unexpected love and dangerous new beginnings captured your heart, smash that subscribe button and let us know in the comments. What's the most unexpected message you've ever received? Your stories inspire these amazing tales of fate and second chances. Until next time, remember that sometimes the wrong number leads to exactly the right person.